Hello, this is Robin Hawke and welcome back in our series of videos on hints and tips on how to help survive the current COVID-19 pandemic that we find ourselves in. So today I thought I'd look at how we could decorate our kids' bedrooms or space or toy room so that it grows with them and it's not something that you'll have to change again in a year or two as their most favourite theme or thought process changes. So anyone who knows me or has worked with me, they realise that I actually always talk about the planning and the consideration of key things. Now, in this particular case, we're specifically looking at the type of furniture that you will use, the noise transfer, the flexibility, and I think that's probably most important, is the flexibility of the space. Can it work as a study for the older kids? Can it use as a toy room, as a quiet time? Can it grow with them? Is it something that we're going to be able to use for the next 2 or 3 years, 4 or 5 years, without having to spend a lot of money changing it again? Is it comfortable? And in comfort comes things like, is it warm enough, cool enough light, not enough light, etc. Another thing is storage. Storage is paramount for kids' bedrooms. It encourages them to keep their rooms tidy. It helps to reduce the frustration when they can't find anything because they know it's in a certain spot in a storage box. And the personality of a child. Now, the bedroom or the toy room is one of those few rooms in a house where the child can actually exert their personality and say who they are, and it's not going to impact too greatly on the rest of the house. And of course, the functionality of the space. It's no use having the space looking beautiful like any other space in the house if it cannot be used properly or efficiently. So when we're going to go through each of these aspects with you, and discuss them in a little bit of detail with some images of some projects that we've done over the years. A few of them are a little bit older, but they still are relevant, they're still up to date, and they still demonstrate what we're trying to consider today and in this little presentation. Now, with anything is space planning. So ideally, if the room is big enough, you want to have sleeping, studying, reading, and a play area. Now, I know that's not always possible, but we look at ways of being able to do dual purposes with areas. And you might find that if you have a toy room, you can set it up for play versus study versus reading in those areas, and keep the bedroom, if it's smaller, for a distinct sleeping area. Ideally, for younger kids, you don't necessarily want the study aspect or the desk in the bedroom and you prefer them out, but for older teenagers, kids, we need to consider that because reality is they will do most of their work in the bedroom and you need to make sure it's set up properly for them. Another key thing is to prioritize your purchases. My key is for these big costly purchases that you actually buy the best quality that you can afford at the time. And now that means a bed with an excellent mattress, an excellent base, or if you've got a small room, it can double as storage. If you are having the study area, the study zone, that you have a decent desk and a lamp, and you definitely need storage items. Again, this could be bookshelves, it could be bedside tables, it could be the bed that doubles as storage as well, but we'll go through those. Now, in the example that we've got here, I've actually brought up a toy room that we did a few years ago. This was a dining room, and the client found that she was not using the dining room. The kids were younger, but they were constantly under her feet while she cooked or did anything. So she wanted a space that was their own, but they still felt connected to her within the house. And you'll notice what we've done in this one, and this is what we're talking about being flexible. Yes, we've painted the rooms in a bright yellow. She specifically asked for that, and it's actually been proven that yellow stimulates the brain, stimulates the right side of the brain and creativity. So it's a perfect colour to go into a toy room. I would suggest that you don't do it in the bedroom. Otherwise, kids may be very unsettled and not sleep very well. But in terms of flexibility, and storage, etc. What we've actually done is use just storage units from IKEA. This means it hasn't cost us a fortune. We've been flexible, and when the kids are older, this can be converted into a proper study, could be converted back into a dining room very, very easily. We've even done things like stretch the wire between the walls so that the artwork can be hung on this wire rather than on the wall, so we're not damaging our walls. You can change your artwork very quickly and easily, and it's on display, and the kids feel like they own the space. You'll notice that we've used some very bright, colourful colours in this space, and including what we've done on the walls, again to be flexible, is decals. We actually just purchased these decals off the internet and stuck them on. They were circles, and then we just decided to make it into an ice cream cone for some unknown reason on the day, but loved it. People love it, the kids loved it, and the client loved it. So they're some of the key things. Do your space planning, allocate the sleeping, try to have access to a window and fresh air, and try to create zones, and buy the best quality furniture that you can afford. It doesn't mean you've got to spend a fortune, but quality over quantity is a very important thing to consider. Now, storage is a key. And this one's actually an example of another toy room that we've worked on. Toy room come study area. And it was a basement area in the bottom of a house that early 1900s, it had sandstone, etc. And it's very dark and dingy. Now you can see from our before shots how dysfunctional it was. The kids obviously didn't want to play in here. They certainly didn't want to study. They certainly didn't want to bring their friends down there. So what we've done, as you can see from the afters, is actually taken this space, removed walls, worked around supporting structures here and over here. We've built storage around it, but we've custom designed all the furniture. Now, at the moment, it's been set up for younger kids, but you'll notice that the colour of the furniture and the walls and the cabinetry can grow with anybody. It can be easily converted back into an adult zone very easily. The rug adds a bit of colour, texture, helps to absorb some of the sound, and the kids can play here freely, happily with their friends, and the noise transfer upstairs is not there. We've also made this space flexible, so in terms of creating zones, we've created here whereby they can sit and play their Xbox or whatever it is they play. They can watch TV, watch movies, etc. These drawers down here are all designed to take all their DVDs and their whatever cassette things that they use for their games, that they go in there and they fit perfectly into there. Now the space up here is not as accessible, but we didn't want to waste the space, so we've put gas leaf doors on here, and that enables extra storage to happen here. The open shelves enables the kids to store their current book or current favourite toy, and it adds a bit of colour, etc. to it. You'll notice in this space here, we intend down the track putting in bar fridges, and when it's converted back into a adults area, it'll become like a bar retreat area within the space. You'll also notice that we've got a desk area, so that's the study area, parts where they can store their stationery, etc. And then down here, we've even got a reading area, a reading sunbed, sit and read a book, lean against it. And in, you can't see it in the image, but above this here is a lovely window which lets in lots and lots of sun. You'll also notice that the storage is quite deep here, and it is on wheels. So what we've done is it enables the little boy to pull this out, the cabinet out on wheels, put the play with the toys, and push it back in at the end of the day. So storage is a key. You can do things like drawers. I'm a big fan of drawers because you can actually find things, fit more things in, but open shelves are wonderful if kids want to display things, bookcases, and furniture with a dual function. So our day bed with storage underneath. So it's a classic example. Now, in the particular case, it was a toy room like the previous one, but the same theory applies to a bedroom. Now, as you can see, we're using the bedroom in this particular one, and colour. Now, what I suggest if you want to make it more flexible is that you put a neutral base down, and then you add your colour through textures and brighter colours in doonas, in cushions, in artwork, etc., rugs, etc., whatever. Now, as a general thing, it's nothing to say that colour infers gender, as this little fairy tale bedroom for two little girls. The brief was that they wanted to make it like a fairy, a little bit Disney themed without actually having all your Disney effect to it. And they already had the beds. The beds weren't quite the same colour because they'd bought them at different times. So that had the fitting there. And they wanted their different personalities with their different doona covers. So what our plan was to actually make this cohesive and bring it all together. So what we've done is had custom made the canopies over the beds to give it the fairy tale feel. We had the block out curtains, so that'll help the night light and keeping them asleep at night. We noticed that we didn't put the curtains down to the floor because of where the bed had to go. It was the only space in the room where the beds could go. So we did the shorter curtain, though I'm more of a fan of the longer one. And then we've picked up all the colours in the quilt covers, and we've added storage, the tie backs, which just add that little bit of prettiness. And you'll notice we've even used decals on the walls here, and over here, cushions and texture. So we've created this beautiful space that will last. However, for a few years. However, it won't take much to change. All they have to do is remove the decals off the wall, change the doona covers, and then we'd have a brand new look. That was when they were a bit older, it would suit them. Now, in this particular case, we've gone a little bit more in that the client was happy to be a little bit more experimental with this. So rather than paying for a mural to be painted in detail per se, what's happened here is we've taken these decals, and the little boy at the time was right into construction trucks and diggers, etc. And what I've done is just freehand drawn, almost like a road on here. It's very simplistic. It's nothing there too great. I've drawn it on. The painter's actually painted where I've asked him to. We added the lines for the road just to infer a road, and we've created this amazing space in there. Again, the advantage of this particular one was the little boy used to like to remove the decals and move them on different parts of the road whilst he was playing. So today, with the use of decals, it's been wonderful because it gives you an opportunity to add lots and lots of flexibility to the space, and they can add their personality with it. We had to keep retaining the current furniture. We had to retain the furniture, hence the reason why we've used the colour compound, the colour selection as we have done. And you'll also notice that we actually made the quilt in that same sort of pattern to give the theme running through. So you've noticed that we've done a couple of different things in these two bedrooms. One was a little bit more neutral, and all we had to do was change the quilt cover to change the effect. This one was a little bit more, but again, it's not going to take too much to change this and convert it back to a different theme, an older child down the track. Now, personality, and this is where you add their artwork. the stickers, the doona covers, the textures, the pillows. And what this one, as we're using this as an example in terms of personality, was not obviously a kid's room, but a young teenager going into an adulthood. And what we've done is something slightly different here. We've got a long, very long, narrow room with very high rake ceilings. So what we've done is just used a picture colour wall that she loved. And also note that this room has a lot of westerly sun, and so especially in summer it can be quite hot. So it's added a bit of base, a bit of texture to that. And she wanted everything else white. And in the side you'll notice that we've got linen-like curtains here to soften it off, but we've used the black rods. And the white doona, white bed, etc. You'll notice that if you look very carefully at those doonas that it is very textured. So that's what helps bring off a white palette, is the texture. And we've added a few quirkiness to it. So instead of the typical artwork, we've used some dragonfly lights that run around the top of the bed head. And happened to be in a florist one day and find these cute little bird vases that we filled full of stones, a little bit of flowers, and we hung them from the ceiling at different heights and balanced it with this bird cage. So it's just given a quirkiness. It's portrayed the personality without being your sort of standard look. It has, interestingly, this particular project has been saved I don't know how many times via Pinterest and House, etc., because people like the quirkiness of it outside the norm, yet it is something that can easily adapt. And all we've got to do is change the doona cupboard, change the bed head, change the bedside lamps, and you've already got a whole new look again that has grown. But you can imagine how this particular look would grow with a teenager right into adulthood. And there's no damage to the space as to when we change it. So as you can see, these are a few tips and ideas that you can do to make your kids' bedrooms more appealing, make them want to play in it, and not cost you a fortune. So the key is flexibility in furniture, storage. Try and see if you can have dual functions. Make it so that they get main personality through, say, your doona covers, your artwork, your textures, your pillows, and keep your walls as neutral as possible where you can. However, it's not a hard and fast rule. If you're happy to do like the one we did with the little boy with the construction trucks, etc., do it. Again, it's still easy to cover over. We're not making huge structural changes. We're not damaging the walls. It's just a little bit of time and effort to change. So hopefully these give you a little bit more ideas on what you can actually do during the weekend or during your downtime, or plan with your kids. And if you need any help, contact us on inspiredspaces.com.au. Look at our Instagram, which is Inspired Spaces AUS, or our Facebook page, Inspired Spaces. We're also on Pinterest, and of course we can be contacted directly by the phone. So have fun. If you do any decorating, paste it on my page. Let me see it. I'd love to rejoice with you. Have a fantastic week and weekend, and speak soon.